What's up, guys? Welcome to BitCast episode 83 for the week of September 20th, 2020. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and in the studio this week, we have a BitCast newcomer, Joe Saltich. Joe, thanks for being on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, man. Glad to be here.
So, I hear that you are not a podcast newbie. You've actually got your own little side hustle that you and your buddies work on.
I'm more of a co-star, guest star. They've been doing it for about 5 years now on the Talking Small podcast.
Gotcha.
So they're more of a two guys, just random topics, current events, their own inside stories. They go to a small audience. So, but check them out, Talking Small podcast.
Yeah, Talking Small podcast. We'll put a plug in the show notes so people can check them out. But it's good. So you know kind of how to banter on a podcast, because I feel like a podcast is like a little bit of a different conversation. Like you're talking still, but you are trying to make sure that you cover the points. Whereas a normal conversation, you're just kind of just shooting the crap.
Right.
So this is gonna be good. So with every new BitCast host or co-host, I like to ask some video game related questions. So off the top of my head right now, what I'm thinking is, what is your favorite game of all time? Go.
Favorite game of all time? Ooh, it's got to be one of the Final Fantasies.
Ooh, nice.
7 or 10,
Ooh,
probably.
Dude, 10 was. I remember I never played 10. I watched my older brother play it, but like I loved watching him play that game. It was so dope.
I actually just finished a replay of 10 during quarantine.
Nice.
So,
Were you playing it on?
I got the 10 and 10-2 remaster, and it's just as good as I remember it.
You played a lot of the what's the water sport called?
Blitzball.
Yeah, dude, Blitzball. Gotta love it.
I did in the first time I played through it to get the ultimate weapon. I didn't go for it this time.
Yeah.
I just did the story playthrough. I didn't do the 100%.
I'm finding that's like a more common thing, because I just got the Super Mario 3D All Stars collection for Switch, and I've played all those games. And I was considering for a second like trying to 100% Sunshine, and I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. Actually, I think that's just like a thing of getting older. You're like, I don't have the time for this anymore.
It is. It's a daunting thing, and once you start having kids, it gets even less time. You just take the chance where you can to get through this main storyline.
Unless you want to play the same game for the next year, basically.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. Now, favorite game in the past to like decade, or like at least current gen consoles. Like, what's been the one that's really impressed you?
The one current gen. Let's see. I really enjoyed the Final Fantasy remake. The one I've logged the most hours into probably lately has been Apex Legends. I've been playing that for about 3 years now, pretty consistently. So they're on season 6 now, and I've dumped a lot of hours into that one.
Apex came onto the scene swinging, and I feel like they really established like their base market.
Yeah, we have me and a couple other guys. We have a squad of 3 that we play with pretty regularly.
That's all you need.
And one of them was big into Titanfall, so he was all over this from the jump, and he stayed with it.
Nice. Yeah, I suck at Apex, hence why I haven't played it as much recently. But my time with it, I enjoyed, because I was able to jump in and immediately understand kind of the core concept. The gunplay felt good, and they were the pioneers of the ping system, like marking things on the map. And now you've seen almost every other battle royale kind of copy that.
Call of Duty tried to do it and did it worse, and the button was just in such an unusable location.
What was Call of Duty's on?
It was like the down on the D-pad or something like that, instead of just the trigger R1.
Not great. I've been playing this game called Spellbreak recently.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
the EA's, right?
I don't know if it's even EA. I don't know who made it. I should check. I should know that. But it's pretty great. It's like Harry Potter Battle Royale. It's kind of awesome. You have like a bunch of spells and stuff. It's free to play, but their ping system's also not great. It's on the it's R3. So I find myself hitting that on accident a ton and like pinging things, and I'm like double tapping is how you get like enemy, and then if you actually just want to tag something, you hit it once. But oftentimes I'm like pinging enemies when there's no enemy over there, and I'm like, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Well, cool, man. So I like that, because it's interesting to see what people are playing and like kind of what shaped them. But yeah, Final Fantasy is a good soft spot in my heart, and actually it's on the show notes today. We're gonna be talking about it a little bit. later.
Yeah.
But if you guys are tuning in, today we're talking about the PS5 Showcase that happened this past week. We're going to be walking just through like what was announced, the basics, and our thoughts on how everything stacks up now versus Xbox and PS5. I don't like the console war idea because I do believe anyone can just play games and enjoy them. But it is interesting when you are a consumer and you have to make a decision between one or the other. And I'm like one of those people where I'm not going to be buying both. So for me, it is a big decision, and I like to consider both equally. So we'll be talking through those as well. And then also like a little bit more recent news where Xbox had acquired Bethesda. So we'll talk about that, and that'll kind of tie in at the end. Housekeeping for you guys. Make sure to leave reviews right into us. Check us out on Twitch or Facebook Live. This podcast is not live today because I want to make sure I get some kinks figured out before we go live again. But I think you are in tune this time. I figured out display capture for some reason works better than window capture. So I think we should be good on the delay there. Drink of the show today. Joe, you actually have one. You said you're gonna round up. What you got?
I do. We were up near Sparta, Tennessee a little bit earlier this weekend. Picked up a growler from a little brewery, Calf Killer Brewery.
Oh, Calf Killer is awesome, man.
Calf Killer, this is their smoky treat. I think it's a lager. It is it's quite good.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I've never been up to that spot before. I've had a lot of their beers before, but I've never actually been there. It was a cool little spot. It's they said they can't grow anymore. They can't distribute anymore because they just can't handle any more customers at the moment. But
yeah, they've been doing a good job. And anytime I've had a Calf Killer beer, I've been very impressed. So good for those guys. And that was in Sparta, you said?
That's in Sparta, Tennessee. That's right.
That's where we got our dog. That's where we got Albert at.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was a little
it's a cool
nervous.
Little town.
It is. I was a little nervous driving up there. Sparta, Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I was a little nervous driving up there. I was like, this is like middle of nowhere, and like the place we got him from was like a double wide trailer. And I was like, we might die. We might die here.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to find Calf Killer on accident. You got to know. You got to go there with a purpose.
Well, maybe we'll do that to just revisit Albert's old birthing grounds and check out a brewery. Yeah. Today I'm sipping on a little nice white cap. It's a red wine. I don't know exactly. I said white cap, nightcap. I don't know what it was. I looked up the name before this, but it's like just a cheap, crappy $13 wine. You know, the best
Can't
of the
go wrong.
Yeah, the best.
That's
the
right.
best you can do. So, cheers. And before we jump into the main topic of the show, I want to know, Joe, what have you been playing lately? What are you playing?
I actually just finished today Wasteland 3.
Okay.
Which it's a small dev. I mean, it's on the Xbox's Game Pass currently, which was crazy because it's pretty new, but it's a small little developer. In Exile, their main title is known for is Bard's Tale, which I think is their biggest one other than the Wasteland series.
Okay.
But man, it was great. It had some serious bug issues that it had crashing all over the place a lot. But other than that, it was Borderlands humor in a Fallout style setting. With turn-based battle. It was a lot of fun. I'd recommend it.
I want to look this up real quick. I'm going to look up this Wasteland 3 just to make sure I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of imagery here. Okay, yes, I have seen this. Top down, actually. Is that so? It's a top down. It's almost like a strategy game. It looks like.
Yes, it is. It's a turn-based. Yeah, it's sort of a Divinity XCOM type battle system.
Nice.
And the soundtrack for it, they kind of did their own covers of just certain songs, and I would recommend checking that out. That was just such a nice surprise. You get into your first boss battle, and they put in songs you'll recognize, and they just do their own remixes on them in sort of a dystopian way. It's really cool.
That's a nice touch. It
was a nice surprise.
I really believe that music is incredibly important when it comes to games. I know it's like something that you don't often think about, but it's one of the things you also almost immediately notice when you're playing a game. You're like, oh, this soundtrack is great, or like, I'm super annoyed by this song I keep on hearing. There's like just a good mix of both.
Yeah.
Sorry, was I cutting out there?
A little bit. Is it me or is it you?
I might have been messing with my mic, so if it keeps happening, let me know. We can work with it. Bad, good, better, same?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good. If it cuts out, then just pretend like you know what I'm saying and just kind of nod your head. Like,
just nod.
Yeah, sure. Are you wired at your house? Are you wired in?
No, I'm wireless.
Come on, dude. That's your number one problem right there. That's all right. Well, anyways, I have been playing Spellbreak, like I just mentioned, and I've been very impressed. Speaking of music, the game the soundtrack is excellent. It's very good, very fantastical and like sweeping. And that's pretty much all I've been playing. That and the 3D All Stars remake, which I've been loving. Sunshine. I don't know if you ever played that. Did you ever play that on GameCube back in the day?
I don't think so. No, I haven't had Nintendo since the 64.
Oh dang. Okay. Yeah.
I
So,
know.
but you played Mario 64, which is on this collection.
Yes. Yes.
It is now in full like HD, so all the textures are like a lot more clean, and it's not as like terrible looking. But overall, it's been fun revisiting those. And I don't think I'm gonna play 64 because I just did it recently. But I'm definitely gonna play Galaxy after this too, which has like again a very good soundtrack. The first orchestrated Mario soundtrack. In case you didn't know.
I did not.
Now you know. Well, good to know. Wasteland 3, if you guys want to check it out. I know Matt Insman will like that because he's a big strategy guy, so I'll definitely point it his way. But let's move on to the topic of the show, which is the PS5 Showcase. So just off the bat first, I want to get your thoughts. Just, what'd you think?
I can tell you in 2 words. I'm in. I'm sold. I mean, it was essentially, they've been leaking it. They did the tech demonstration, how many months ago now.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. These games were rumored, and now that they're putting trailers to them all with a couple new surprises. I didn't know about the new God of War, but
yeah,
I'm in, man.
Yeah.
I told my wife at this time, I'm not saying, hey, what do you think about me getting this? I'm just giving you I'm just to let you know this November we're going to be getting a new console if we can find a pre-order for it.
I know the pre-order situation is a mess. I probably should have put that in here, but I think both consoles I've read today, Xbox is having the same problem because their pre-orders went live and it's just a nightmare.
Well, Sony did the put your gamer tag in here for a first chance at. I thought they were only soft testing to see how many people they would get to want to pre-order this, and what, they sell out of pre-orders in 12 minutes?
Yeah, I don't even know how fast it was, but I just remember not getting a notification and then reading all the news saying PS5 orders are sold out everywhere. I was like,
yeah, they're supposed to go on sale at midnight, and someone tweeted out the link, 15 minutes beforehand, and they were all the pre-orders were gone before midnight. And then I've heard of it popping up sparingly around since then, but
perfect.
No luck over here.
Perfect. I don't think I have the energy or like care right now to try and like scalp a pre-order or just like go in and swoop in and get one right now, because I was on that for like the SNES and some other consoles, but if it's available, it's available. I'm gonna try, but I'm not gonna be up at midnight trying to get a pre-order.
No, I don't feel like Sony had this problem with PlayStation 4. I think I just went in the day beforehand, sometime into Amazon, and pre-ordered it and showed up at my door.
Yeah, you were one of the lucky ones. You got the pre-order from Amazon and it showed up on time. That was the big one.
Yeah.
Because some people did that and they missed it. Like it was a week late and they're like, no. But
do you have the launch edition PlayStation, or are you did you upgrade to the Pro?
I would have the launch edition, but mine was stolen, sadly, many years ago out of my house, and it had my copy of The Last of Us remastered in it, and I hadn't fully finished the DLC. I'd beaten the game, but I hadn't finished the DLC, so I was a little bummed. But I was like, oh well. But yeah, I have still just the vanilla PS4. I don't have the Pro or anything, the Slim or whatever they came out with after that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So that'll be one of the things we kind of talk about. But I also was very pleased. I think they delivered on what they needed to talk about. I do think comparatively between like what Xbox is offering and PS5 offering, I think there's enough for both parties that really just care about that brand more. Because right. I really do think that Xbox has done a good job of marketing itself as well, and I think that they have a lot to offer. But we'll kind of go into this. So price $499 for the top level PS5, and then $399 for the digital edition. Was this kind of what you were expecting?
Yeah, that's what had been reported, and that was spot on to it. And I was wondering, is it really only $100 difference for the optical drive, or is the optical drive really worth $100?
Yeah,
especially when it's at this point sort of a dated technology, and there's people who like the collector's edition to hold on to the actual disc, but that's kind of a niche market. Even I can't tell you the last time I bought a physical copy of a game.
Yeah, I was showing on the last one, but I have some. I have some physical copies. I got like Red Dead, like all the ones that I know that I probably would want to sell. That's kind of how I buy games now. Like if I know I'll play it, I'll beat it, and I'll want to get rid of it, that's usually why I'll buy a physical edition.
Yeah.
But if I'm just gonna keep that game forever, I'll buy digital.
See, I'm to the point now, with one kid and one on the way. I don't buy the game unless it's something I'm, desperate to want to play. Even the games that are Red Dead, I ordered the digital. It still put in 80, 100 hours in that or something like that.
Yeah.
You can't resell it, but I'm happy with most of so many games come out on PS Plus every month, or
Yeah.
you get a nice diamond in the rough gem out of Apex or Fortnite or something like that.
I know.
That's, no cost to download, and you can put hundreds of hours into it, no problem.
That's honestly really true. Yeah, there is not as much of a need these days for the discs because so many things are offered to us for like free to play models, and that's like a pretty popular trend now. I mean, you still have the big AAA guys, but I would say a majority of our time probably is spent playing these like online, just free to play games.
Yeah.
Interesting food for thought. Maybe we're all just slaves to their marketing and their games that they're throwing at us.
Well, they've had me for the past, almost 30 years now. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Not much we can do now. But yeah, honestly, I was pleased with the pricing. I was reading that the digital editions are understocked at most places. I think GameStop was interviewed at like a bunch of locations. They said they had like 20 to 30% either less, or of the PS5s they had available, only 20 to 30% were digital editions. The rest were all PS5 originals.
Which seems baffling to me. I would think they would. They're probably going to start pumping out the digital editions now that they kind of know what the market was going for. But at this point, do you know which one you're going to go for? Are you going for the digital or?
I don't know. The digital is sounding more enticing to me because I know with this, it's just like you're saying. Like I'm okay with digital games most of the time now, and that extra $100 is a pretty big difference. It's going to allow me to buy a game that's $70 now as opposed to $60,
right,
and maybe an extra controller or something like that to kind of keep the cost down. So I'm leaning more towards digital, and also I think it looks better. I think it looks a little more just seamless or whatever their design they were going for.
Right. If January rolls around and I'm still unable to get my hands on anything, I'm going to take whatever I can get. But
yeah, that's true.
I honestly think you're in for. I'm probably going to get the headset. I've got the the PlayStation Gold, the old original one, the headset for that, the wireless edition, and that's been great.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get that one, an extra controller, like you're saying, a charge deck. So regardless, you're in it for $600-$700.
Yeah.
So what's another $100 if you have to get the one with the disc drive? But we just ended up selling all our Blu-rays, so that's another reason I just don't need
You're right.
an optical drive.
You're right. I can't tell you the last time I've used the PS4 to even play a Blu-ray or a DVD. Like I've used it like once, maybe in the past like 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good point. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And did you read or see that the PS5 will not have an optical out? That's probably not a big deal for you, but because it is, my headphones right now I have are optical, so I have to get like an HDMI 2.1 converter that allows me to still use these headphones. I'm glad they're doing that, but I'm just like that's kind of annoying that they just took the port away because I guess they didn't want it anymore.
Yeah,
but it's old
technology.
It is. It's old technology, so you know. Launch date November 12th. That's right, two days after Xbox.
2 days after Xbox. It's typical console wars.
Yep, classic, just right next to each other. Okay, and then the last big announcement that came out of this, and I mean, I'm kind of glossing over the games, but we'll talk about those a little bit later. PS Plus Collection. So this is essentially their answer to Xbox Game Pass. What'd you think about this?
It's again, like you're saying, the titles. It's a small list right now. I've already have in my library most of these titles.
Yeah.
So it's what it is. They're the great titles. It's The Last of Us. It's God of War. It's Uncharted. It's everything there.
Mm-hmm.
That's their money.
For anybody that hasn't been on PlayStation yet, this is like an answer, I guess, to jump in and be able to play those games. It's like, hey, if you haven't owned a PlayStation yet and played all these great games, boom, here you go. Here's a subscription. You can knock all these games out.
Yep.
But for us who've had PlayStation 4s since launch day, basically, it's like, well, I've played almost all these games, so this is cool that it's on here. My hope is that they continue to add more, kind of like Xbox is doing, and I know that they're going to do this, but they have come out and said that they don't necessarily plan to release like major launch titles on the service like day one.
Right. They're going to do their kind of what they're doing now with the PlayStation free games or PlayStation Plus free games. Give it a year or two to let it settle, and then add it to it.
Yeah.
Like I said about the PlayStation game or the Xbox Game Pass, Wasteland 3 is on there, and it launched, 2 months ago, something like that, and it was on there, I think, day of.
Yep. Yeah. Whatever Microsoft is doing, I don't know if it's like extra money or however they're fronting that cost. I really do think that they are doing an excellent job of making Game Pass a very attractive, I guess, just service, because PlayStation Plus's collection is cool. I think it's going to be a great offering. We don't know if it's going to cost more. So I'm just kind of nervous to see what that's going to look like, because right now PS Plus is $5 a month. If you do the annual pass, it's like $60 a year. So to kind of compare that a little bit, we'll talk about this in a second, but Xbox's like Ultimate is $15 a month. That comes with the one for PC, Xbox Live, which just allows you to be online, and then their actual Game Pass service for console games as well. So you get a little more bang for your buck, I think, in that offering, but we'll see what the pricing is for the collection. I don't know how it's going to roll out.
I know it's early, but we haven't even gotten this gen yet, but it makes you wonder what they're doing for next gen, to where if they're going to go to 100% cloud-based computing, and then just you have sort of just a receiver as your console.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It kind of lets you speculate where they're going.
Oh, yeah. I think they've wanted to head this way for a long time, and they still don't quite have the technology to do it. So the option here is to basically have those games on a server, and yes, your console be a receiver to be able to just download it to your system, and then just ping their server saying, yes, this console is still paying for the service, allow them to play the game.
Right.
That's basically all it is.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, streaming, like, I don't know, Stadia hasn't done too well because I think too many people don't have reliable internet. Not us, because we're in Chattanooga, but a lot of people don't have.
City.
Yeah, Gig City, baby. But they don't have the internet like we do, so it's I don't know if we're that close to like the full on cloud streaming, but we're getting close. So yeah, all in all, I think I'm kind of with you. I like Sony. I like PlayStation for their exclusives. They've kind of proven that they invest in their developers and they have new and interesting games to deliver on, not just kind of the same stuff that they've been pumping out. Like that, I feel like Xbox has kind of been focusing on for a while.
Right.
So I guess
before we move on, let me ask you, I see on your game list for the PS Plus collection, you have Persona 5. I was listening to, I think, a previous episode. You said, were you playing Persona 5?
Yep.
I want to know your thoughts, because one of the guys I play Apex with, he says he put in 120 hours, and a tweet he set out, he played it for months, and he says, finally beat Persona 5. It was okay. So he put in 120 hours to it, and he just said it was okay.
I kind of agree with that. I am very close to beating it. I think I'm at like 85 hours right now. That's a long time for me. And it's I don't know if you heard me on the podcast talking about it, but for me, it's been 3 years, because I got it like when it first came out, and I've just been slacking on it. So
right.
I think if the game was about 20 to 30 hours shorter, I would have thought it was just fantastic. But because it has kind of just been drawn out so long, like, I think I'm done, and it's like, nope, you still have a whole other section of the game left. And I'm like, So I kind of agree with that sentiment. But if you like RPGs, which I know you do, maybe check it out. I have a physical copy, so if you want to borrow it sometime, I may have to.
I don't know if I can get 10 hours invested into it and then not play all the way through.
For an extra.
I don't know if I have that much time, yeah.
Yeah. that depends on what else you want to play right now. Yeah, if you have nothing else you want to play, then go for it. But if you're kind of stacked up, then maybe just leave it alone for now.
I did download Divinity 2 today. So.
Oh, no.
I know.
It's one of those games you can just play forever.
I think that's what it is, but after playing Wasteland, I didn't know I loved this kind of game. I never played XCOM. It's been a long time since I did turn-based anything, but
you're like, this is it.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
This is just what I've been missing my whole life.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, it's funny that you asked about the Persona 5. Your friend is pretty much spot on. We'll mention this. I said Fallout 4 maybe for the PS Plus collection, because it's supposed to be in there, but we'll talk about that in a second. So I guess right now, actually. So the next main topic of the show is who's looking better just officially between Xbox and PlayStation 5 now. So right off the bat, I want to talk about the news that broke yesterday or the day before. It was like 2 days ago. I don't know when it was.
Yeah, Monday,
Maybe
I
a
think.
day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Xbox has acquired Bethesda. So if you are not familiar with Bethesda, they have made very large and very popular games such as Doom, Fallout, which we just mentioned, Elder Scrolls, which is like Skyrim, stuff like that, Wolfenstein, Prey, and like a bunch of these really, really big and very immersive action RPGs for the most part, outside of Doom, which is a first-person, whatever you want to call that, all-out action game, I guess. So what do you think about this?
It was, I mean, they had to make a push. The big thing about PlayStation is, hey, they're exclusives. They have the exclusives. They got the God of War. They got The Last of Us. So they had to do it. I think they paid what, 7.5 billion for Bethesda, something like that.
Yep.
That's a high price tag, but it shows that they're trying to get their exclusives. And this is an exclusive, but this isn't just going to piss off PlayStation. If they do this the way they're doing it, this is going to piss off the PC community.
Well, yes and no, because I guess if they're relegated to their platform, but isn't almost every Xbox game available on PC now?
Yeah, I guess everything hits it, but how many months later? I guess okay, that's neither here nor there, but
yeah,
that's fair. But I mean, you look at a lot of these games. Fallout 76 did you play it? I heard it was a bust.
I heard it was a bust. Yeah,
but Fallout 4 was awesome, you know, and Elder Scrolls, everyone played Skyrim. Everybody played 100+ hours of Skyrim.
Yep.
But prior to that, it wasn't even a Microsoft really thing. It wasn't even a console thing. All Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, and prior
PC
were
and stuff.
PC, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I haven't played the most recent Doom, but I heard it was great.
Yep. Bethesda's been doing, and then like the new Wolfenstein, I heard was excellent as well. So really, like they have a really strong pedigree of development and success with their games, and they're a big company, and it just shows that Microsoft has the weight to be able to pull in a large company like this, and it shows that they're serious about getting more exclusives. Now the big question here is, are they going to allow these games to be playable on PlayStation? Because if you remember that when they acquired Mojang, which is like the makers of Minecraft, they still made sure that was available on every platform. So, I mean, like, I don't remember anything happening with that, but basically Minecraft was still playable on PlayStation. There was no problem with that.
My theory behind that kind of is that's targeting a market, though. That's the young children market. These games, the Fallouts and the Elder Scrolls, they are already based to a more mature audience,
older audience.
It's not for the 10 and under crowd like Minecraft is.
That's a good point. And I do think for Xbox to try and maybe pull in a bit more users, they probably are going to at least make most of these timed exclusives, or just exclusives entirely, because I mean, that is one huge way to make sure, like, hey, if you want to play the new Fallout, it's only playable on Xbox. Like, that would be detrimental to a lot of PS4 fans or Sony fans that want to play those games. And it's like, crap, I have to get an Xbox now or a PC to be able to play these games.
Prior to this announcement, they had Halo, which, you can only pump out 30 Halo games before people start losing interest, even though the one that they're having for launch isn't even going to be available until, sometime mid next year, maybe.
They weren't looking good. That is for sure.
And the only other real exclusive that interests me that they have is Fable. And now, don't get me wrong, if there's a game that's going to pull me into the new Xbox, it'll be Fable.
Fable.
They have announced the Fable 4. And if the next Elder Scrolls is the next Skyrim, it's might be getting two consoles. We may have to. I don't know.
Or what a lot of people are doing is getting a PC, is actually investing in a gaming PC, because it's the best of both worlds. You basically then will have all three consoles, because you're getting the Xbox games, you're getting the PC games you want to play, and then you're also getting Sony games. So
we don't have a space for a PC. So, and if I go and hide up in the closet again, my wife might just leave me. So I don't think gaming PC is of the past for me.
Yeah, it is a harder thing to accommodate in a modern family household. I agree with that.
It's also not a $500 price tag to get it built.
Yeah.
You're looking at $1,700 to $2,000 price tag.
All right, bear with me, honey. I want to spend $2,000
Yeah.
so I can go sit in my room by myself. It's like, no. Yeah, that is a great point. So I also think that it is or exclusives are interesting because really, wouldn't you think that only Microsoft could benefit by offering their games on any console or any platform because they're going to make the money regardless, right?
Right. They would get a cut out of every hard sell of the game, every copy of the game.
And how crazy would that be to see like Xbox Studio produced game on a PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I'm playing an Xbox first party game on my PS4.
Yeah.
Because they own this technically, so it's been published by them. It'll be very interesting to see what happens, but I'm hopeful that they will kind of do what they've already been doing is basically just by doing a timed exclusive, but still allowing those games to be playable on other consoles. Because Xbox and Nintendo have been playing nice together. That we just got Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is like one of their other big Xbox exclusives. So Nintendo's been having a good partnership with them, and I think. I don't know.
Kind of an unfair comparison though, because Nintendo and Nintendo and Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony. Nintendo's
very
kind of
different
own thing. Sony and Microsoft have been going at each other for years now.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah. So we'll see. Real quick, we already talked about this a little bit, but just the Game Pass versus PS Plus collection. So right now. And this might be new pricing, because I think this is a little bit different. So you can get Xbox Game Pass for PC for $10 a month, and that includes more than 100 PC games. You can get Xbox Game Pass console games, which is $10 a month also, and includes more than 100 games, but just on the Xbox, so not the PC. You can pay for Xbox Live Gold for $10 a month, which includes access to online multiplayer. So basically, you could pay $20 and have it on your PC or your Xbox, basically to have Game Pass and Xbox Live. Or what they're offering and trying to get a value out of is basically the Game Pass Ultimate, which is $15 a month, and you have access to all three. I think that makes sense. I think that's an appropriate price because if you think about what we're paying for Netflix and other subscription services,
right.
It's like $10 to $15 for most of those anyways. So I think that's about in line. But it is surprising because if you think about the price of a game, we're looking at $60 now $70, whereas a movie, cost usually $10 to go see it once, or $20 to buy it outright usually. So definitely a value if you are looking to get into the Xbox library and what they have to offer. So I think that's
what are your thoughts on the seemingly price jump for the next gen console or next gen game prices bumping up $10?
I think it's needed to happen for a while. It does suck for us because it does make that game purchase feel a little more gross every time. You're just like, that's $70. That's money. That $60 is money, but it's been the price for so long that I don't think I've thought about it. But when it's a new price, now I'm thinking, I'm like, $70. That's a new pair of shoes.
It's paying for the deluxe edition for any game currently.
Yeah.
You mentioned you compared it to movies. You look at these credits now, and the devs have so many people that go into these games. I mean, I'm surprised. I feel like it's long overdue. You talk about games like The Last of Us. They're movies. They are movies. They have voice actors. They get big names, art directors, and all kinds of things. It's
thousands of people work on these games. Yeah,
exactly. And you're going to want to have them, pump these types of art is what they are out. You have to expect this to happen. I'm surprised it took this long, and I'm totally okay with it. I support it. If the devs, unless they just pump out crap, I'm not going to be paying $70 for Dynasty Warriors 72 or whatever.
That game that game should perpetually just be $30 or something like that. Yeah. It's the stuff exactly what it's going to be. Just hitting a bunch of guys with swords.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 15. It's the same game. They just update it and add
more blood.
Something different.
Yeah. But I'm the same way. I think the price needed to happen a while, probably last generation or generation before, honestly. But it is unfortunate for those people that maybe can't afford it, but now that we're getting into this subscription-based model, it's honestly that's the solution. It's hey, if you can't afford to buy 7 games a year, which if you think about it, that's a lot of money, I can't do math right now. What's 7 times 7?
49,
Thank you.
$500.
Yeah, $500. I was like, what is that math? I should know this. Yeah, like $500 a year just on games. Like that's a lot to think about. Whereas $15 a month, you're definitely saving a ton of money
For
there.
100 games, yeah.
102. Yeah, so that's a deal in itself. So just comparing really quickly as well, PS Plus collection has the 12 games at launch that it's going to come with. We don't know the price. And right now, like I said earlier, it's $5 a month for PS Plus. I can't imagine that they'll continue to charge $5 a month. They'll probably up the price as well to sort of coincide with this added functionality. And I do hope that they continue to do the same thing where they bring two free games or whatever to the service. Like I don't think that's going to change, but I do want to see a bit more in terms of what else that PS Plus collection is going to be. Like we don't know a lot yet still about that.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the 12-month subscription to PS Plus jump to the price of the game, $70.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just for the online functionality of it, I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, I think so too. It makes sense. Okay, so then console price, we talked about it in the beginning really quick, but the Series X, just to compare, is the same price as PS5. So the two top tier consoles are $500. And then the two lesser tier models are the Series S, which is $299, and the digital edition, which is $399. So $100 more for the digital edition for Sony. However, the big difference here is that the Series S is, from a technology standpoint, lesser than the Series X, whereas the digital edition is literally just there's no disk drive. It's all the same.
Right.
So you're getting the same power, the same performance, just for $100 less and no disk drive. So I'd say those pricings are pretty like fair and pretty appropriate. That's why I think the digital edition is enticing, because it's like, well, I'm getting the same exact specs just without a disk drive. So
yeah,
$100 might as well.
I'm excited about the solid state drive on it. Sony's is a slightly smaller. They have their own custom sized drive, whereas Microsoft's is just a terabyte. Theirs is like 879 or some weird.
Yeah, it's a
like
weird
that.
size. It's like 820 or something like that. I'm like, it's a custom SSD, so it's gonna have great performance. And I'm like, okay, it's an SSD.
Give me the terabyte.
yeah, I'll take the extra 200 gigs. Yeah. But I think that like from a spec standpoint, I think I actually linked the like a little article on the topic for this one, so we can look at it really quick. But like, really, a lot of it's all the same. I don't know a lot about this mumbo jumbo here, but from what it looks like, Xbox Series X is going to be a bit better in terms of like performance and capabilities, but not so much that I think it's going to be like a huge drastic comparison. They can both push 4K. They can do. Let's see. I was looking at this just a second ago. Yeah, 4K.
One of the things that kind of irks my mind, and they advertise that they're like, oh, 8K compatible, and but what games are going to be, optimized for 8K?
None.
So even how many, it took 5 years, and how many games are now optimized for 4K? A handful.
Yeah, it's just massive amounts of data that, like, from a performance standpoint, I think people are learning. Like, I only really care that the game runs smoothly. I don't really care as much about the visuals, because I'm doing things so quickly. Like, it's hard to even notice the details sometimes. Now, like in a slow game where you like the intention is to notice that your surroundings and just appreciate it for what it is, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing 8K for pretty much this whole generation. I think it's just gonna be like the very tail end. We might have like a few 8K games.
And I'm getting old, so when they say a lot of these are it's 60 frames versus it may drop down to 45, I can't see the difference. I'm getting old. I can't see the difference.
I think in Apex you would probably notice if you dropped from 60. That would be frustrating. But yeah, like the 120 hertz refresh rate will be nice to have. Like I've been gaming on the vanilla PS4, so I haven't known anything better than that. And so for me, I'm just like, oh, this will be a nice upgrade. Like this will be, I'll be able to have 120 hertz refresh rate. Great, So yeah, I think from a spec standpoint, they're very comparable. I don't really care that much about that. But then talking about exclusives really quickly. So there are more to this now. I think this is an older list that I found, but yeah, at the start, Halo Infinite for Xbox, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, which that's another party that they picked up. That's Ninja Theory. And the first Senua's Sacrifice was a big hit, and a lot of people liked it because it was very different, and it kind of dealt with a lot of like mental illness stuff, and it was very interesting in how they sort of portrayed that with like sound. So that's a cool first party title that they have. Forza Motorsport 8 and State of Decay 3, which those last two I really could care less about. So
Never played them.
Yeah. And then PS5 has Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is going to be very similar to Marvel's Spider-Man that came out 2 years ago, I think. Great game. And from what I saw in the showcase, that looks great. I'm very excited about that. I think it's going to be a fun game to play through. Horizon 2, Forbidden West, which, if it's going to be as good as the first one, I think it'll be just as great. And then Gran Turismo 7, Final Fantasy 16, and like Ratchet and Clank, and a couple other ones that are going to be kind of headlining for PS5. So,
and now God of War 2.
God of War 2. So. I should have put those down. Yeah, this is definitely an older article I pulled these from. But it does look like, I mean, obviously the Bethesda acquisition for Xbox isn't really going to do anything for a while. Like those.
No. They haven't even announced the new Elder Scrolls. I think their next one they're coming out with is going to be a mobile game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think with that we won't see that come to fruition for a while. However, with them acquiring, I meant to say this. I'm not sure if Fallout 4 will be like one of those ones that comes to PS Plus collection. I'm sure there's a deal that they already worked out for the PS Plus collection. Like since it's already on the console, it's just
you can't go back on the contract. Yeah, they own rights to it.
Yeah, they're gonna it's just gonna exist there. But I think from a standpoint of like what I would like to play on launch day, or at least on the system, I'm more enticed by what PS5 still has to offer. I think there's just more on there.
Yeah. I was always sad that Horizon didn't do more DLC. So I know they had the Frozen Tundra or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They kind of dropped off after that. That was a great game.
Mm-hmm. I imagine they probably dropped off because they were like, let's just make another one. We want to do more with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we don't want to waste all of our good ideas on the DLC. Let's make a whole new game.
Right.
So it's cool that they is it Guerrilla, or which developer is Horizon? I should know this right now.
Guerrilla sounds right.
I think it's Guerrilla Games, because they used to make all of the shooters, Killzone and stuff like that, right? For like PS3 and stuff, and I think PS4. And then this was their first breakaway from that style of game, and it was just a huge success. So it's cool that they're now like one of Sony's like headline big developers that's going to make another big RPG like this. So that'll be fun to have. And I guess to sort of pad the year that the usually launch consoles have is backwards compatibility. So Xbox 360 games will be playable on the Series Xbox Series X and S. Xbox One games are playable, and then I guess accessories, so like headsets, controllers, those will all work on the consoles if you already have an Xbox One. So that's cool. And then for the PS5, it'll only be PS4 games that are backwards compatible. I think there's like 99% of games are playable, is what Jim Ryan has said recently, or something like that. It's like, okay.
Yeah, some of those weird third parties, it's similar to when PlayStation 3 had the PlayStation 2 compatibility, and it was some of those weird third parties put it on a different disc or something like that.
Yeah, the PS3 was like the cell processor or something weird that they had in there that like was just hard to like translate between the two systems. Yeah. And then PSVR is available as well. So I think if you have any PSVR games or the headset as well, it'll work on the PS5. So good to see they're still supporting those, and you at least still can play games from the previous generation, because that was not an option from PS3 to PS4. So we can at least play the old PS4 games.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's when everything's going to digital anyway. So you can use PlayStation Now or, your old library. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the benefit. Now we can at least transition to PS5 and still have our library of stuff that we've brought over from PS4. And my library is pretty big at this point, because I think the PS4 launched in 2013 or 2014. So it's been 5-6 years, maybe more. So yeah, in that time I've amassed a lot of games.
Yeah, I was talking with some friends earlier about it, and they said, "Are you going to get the PlayStation?" I said, "Yeah, at this point it's similar to like trying to switch over from an Android to an iPhone. You just have such a large library in one. You can't really switch to the other at this point."
Yeah, unless you just want to buy the other one and just start there as well.
Yeah, you have to buy everything again. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, I'll just have both. Yeah. But yeah, it is unfortunately the problem of just like, well, I'm committed to this library, but it's not like Apple, where I'm like kind of reluctant to be committed to Apple. I'm like, man, Apple has a lot of shortcomings, like especially with doing streaming stuff and just certain like app like a lot of streaming, like Xbox's Game Cloud service doesn't work on the iPhones because of some weird thing with Apple. Like it works on every other phone, but you won't be able to play it on Apple because Apple's just Apple and they want to
Whereas
control.
you can use Apple's products on PC.
Yeah, it's a weird backwards functioning thing, but I'm happy to be stuck with PS4. Like I said, Apple, I'm a little reluctant sometimes, but Sony, I was a lapsed Sony gamer because I had an Xbox 360 before I bought my PS4, so I was kind of an Xbox.
Most people took that step, yeah.
Yeah, I think really that big conference when they came out and they're like, here's what we're going to do differently. Like, we care about games. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the stuff we're going to be working on. And we care, like, we want to be able to have people share games. We're not going to do the all digital stuff. I think that was like a huge step for them. And I was like, yeah, I'm sold. And I've been able to play through a ton of Sony titles or PlayStation titles that I haven't played in the past. And I've got to, like, I don't know. I really do feel like their library is stronger still. Even with the Bethesda acquisition, because like, yes, those games are really good, but truthfully, I was telling someone,
two games a year, maybe,
yeah, and I was telling someone this earlier, but I've never really been fully enticed by a lot of Bethesda games. Like, they're really cool, and I appreciate them for what they are, but for some reason, I think the level of like jank that is just like acceptable in those games is like not acceptable to me. I'm just like, I don't like how bad Fallout feels sometimes. It just
they get some leeway because the massiveness of the game. I guess that's some people just cut it to them because they're especially with this now, the solid state drive. There's going to be virtually no loading. The entire map is going to be loaded essentially into you'll get I don't think you're going to get the hold X to open the door anymore. That's going to go away.
Yeah, so that's why I've been like apprehensive on Bethesda stuff, because like, yeah, there are huge games that are sprawling, but they don't necessarily need to be that large, because I'd rather have just a succinct and well put together game that I can play through in 30 hours and I'd be like, that was a great experience, I loved that, and I'm done. Whereas like those games kind of demand a bit more out of you, unless you're playing like Doom, Wolfenstein. Those are pretty succinct stories, but I'm just not a big first-person shooter story guy.
Yeah, I was always more of I was Xbox 360 into PlayStation 2 for the online stuff, though. No one could compete with Xbox 360's online.
Oh, yeah.
There was no one better to do the party system. And then, PlayStation's was a mess. PlayStation 2 was a mess. And then PlayStation 3 was okay, but PlayStation 4 was, seamless. It was just as good.
Yeah, and the big thing that PS3 had is that it was free. So their online service was free. So everyone's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of a nice deal, but it wasn't as good as still Xbox.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So that was their big one-up still. But that's, so I guess like looking at all of this still, the question remains, how do you think this is going to stack out? Like what do you think now, knowing what both are offering? What are your thoughts in terms of just the console wars?
I think PlayStation is going to outsell Microsoft. I think there's still going to be the fanboys who swear Xbox is better. I don't think you can really compare the exclusives. I think PlayStation wins hands down, even with the Bethesda acquisition. They have a couple titles, and there's the people who love Halo, and I don't know if it ever launches, if they can't recapture that magic with the old, Halo 2, Halo 3 multiplayer.
So good.
Yeah, it was great, but it was also 10 years ago at this point. So they haven't been able to recreate it, even with the Master Chief Collection. That got some people back into it, but that doesn't have the staying power. All you heard about shortly after that is Fortnite.
Yeah,
that's what came around.
Honestly, that's a good point. Is kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, is a lot of these other developers like Epic and these smaller guys are putting out these free-to-play, large-scale multiplayer games, and that kind of takes away from some of the strength of like what Halo was offering, which was like this unbeatable online multiplayer experience. And it's like, honestly, a lot of games do that now. Like a lot of games offer it, and it's free.
They make $1 billion selling costumes for the characters.
Exactly. So it'll be yet to be seen. But I like your strong take. I like your strong take of saying, hands down, this is why they're gonna win. I think I'm with you. I do think that PS4 or PS5 will outsell the Xbox. But what I do think is that you will probably see a lot more people dipping their toes into what the Game Pass service is, whether they're on PC or if they're on Xbox. I think you'll see a lot more people trying that service out. And with xCloud, I guess, being available now on phones, it'll be interesting to see if a lot of people try that service out and kind of have access to games that way as well. I'm a little jealous of that people can play Xbox games on their phone now, but
that's fair. You know, they won't have to care as much necessarily if they're not selling the consoles. If people are going to be paying, all they're paying is for server space and license fees for these games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have to develop all these consoles and games, and you know, that might be how they win. You know, that might be lower cost to them, but they're making the money still.
Yeah, their long tail revenue basically is just trying to get as many subscribers as possible. I think Phil Spencer has come out multiple times basically and said that's their focus. Is like, we kind of have stopped reporting unit sales of consoles because we don't care about it anymore. Like, we care to try and get as many people as we can on our subscription service to try and make money that way, because I think you and I are probably power users to them, people that will buy multiple games. But for most people, they probably buy an Xbox and they buy like Madden and FIFA. Like, they buy like maybe a game a year, 2 games a year, and that's all they do. And they use it to play like Netflix. Like, that's the only thing they do with their Xbox. So they're probably saying like, look, if we can at least get somebody on the subscription service to play these games, not even play these games, but if they're subscribing just to be able to have access to these games, that's already going to be worth the cost after a year. Like, they're going to basically be the equivalent of like 3 games per person.
Well, that was what they kind of tried to do with the Xbox One. They went all in saying, hey, it's going to be your media center, and this is what it's, and then, you know, Roku just said, no, well, that's useless. Here, you can do the same thing for $30.
Here you go, guys. You can stream on this. Yeah, man. Roku is pretty great, actually. We have them on all of our TVs. Yeah, so I am hopeful. I think the entail for me is that it's good for all of us that they're competing on this level now, because I think Xbox has forced PlayStation to respond in a way that probably has reduced the price. Because honestly, I was expecting a higher price from PlayStation for their console, but I know they want to compete, so they lowered their price and they're offering the collection thing, which is a start to sort of an equivalent of Game Pass. So It'll be an interesting next few months, and the last problem is just really trying to figure out how the heck we're going to get a PS5.
Yeah, I was about to say there are no losers, but we're all winners. The consumers are winners, but not if you can't get your hands on them. So.
Yeah, but I guess we'll let the first round of PS5s, maybe all those new owners will they'll get the kinks figured out, and all the things that go wrong with usual day one shenanigans. Services being down and nothing working.
Death.
Yeah. Oh gosh, don't say those words. Don't say those words. That would suck so bad. Just they all brick as soon as you turn them on. It's like, all right, well.
Yeah. That was a fun year. That was a fun X360 launch.
Yeah, dude. I remember sending mine back, and I was pretty impressed with the service. I think I got it back in like a week or 2, and it was just fully functioning, totally fine. I was like, all right, well, got my Xbox back. It works now.
Yeah, my first job post-college, back when the economy was still bad and I couldn't get a real job, I was fixing consoles, and I fixed a lot of Red Ring of Deaths in my day.
Oh man, well, it's kind of cool you know how to fix them actually, though. So,
yeah, I do. I can fix it for you.
So maybe if something happens with the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, you could probably point people in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't think I feel good opening one of those up anymore. It's gone way beyond my
Let's see. What looks different here?
Yeah. It's that thing that's on fire.
Well, is there anything else you were thinking of or anything you had thoughts on?
No, man, this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been great. I think we had a very clear and concise discussion about the PS5 Showcase and console wars. And I think we'll have some more to talk about, I'm sure, in the next few months before the launch to see kind of what's going on. But
yeah, just do me a favor and don't let me borrow Persona 5.
I will do my best. Well, unfortunately, guys, that is the end of the podcast. Remember, BitCast is sometimes a weekly, monthly podcast that posts sometimes on the weeks whenever big news happens. So if you want to just tune in, be sure to do that. Joe, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You have been a great guest, and your podcast experience clearly shows.
Thank you. Had a good time.
Absolutely. Be sure to go to bitbloggers.com to see this episode when it posts, or you can follow us there. Also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch, like I mentioned earlier. Send emails for topic suggestions or any questions you may have about this episode, and we'll read them off on the next show to bitcast@bitbloggist.com. Until next time, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in to talk about some stuff.